Namaste Germany, Guten Tag India, and hello and a very warm welcome to all of you who've tuned in to this very special curtain raiser to an event like you've never seen before. This is the News9 Global Summit and it will be held in the heart of innovation, the city of Stuttgart in Germany. News9 Global Summit is not any other summit. This is a landmark initiative to provide a platform to deepen bilateral trade relations between India and Germany. And TV9 Network, of course, India's largest news network, is hosting the summit in Stuttgart from November 21st to the 23rd. So, well, the countdown has begun, just 10 days to go. Along with the co-host, Bundesliga club VfB Stuttgart, the summit is supported by the state of Baden-Württemberg. So how can India and Germany embark on a roadmap to sustainable growth? And what should you expect from the event? Well, don't hear it from me. Take a look at this. Well, as you just saw, News9 Global Summit will bring together key figures in India and Germany from the world of politics, business, sports and entertainment at Stuttgart's iconic football stadium, the MHP Arena, for 3 days of transformative discussions and dialogues. But to help you make sense of this one-of-its-kind magnum opus summit is none other than the mind behind this audacious plan. I'm joined now by the MD and CEO of TV9 Network, Mr. Barun Das, live here in the studio. Mr. Das, thank you so much for being here with us today. Let the cat out of the bag. What is the News9 Global Summit really?
Well, as the promo just showed us, it's a global summit which is definitely, as you said, one of its kind, the first of its kind. This is an off-take from what we did in India, which is for the first time for an India media company. We have taken our flagship summit, annual summit, to a global level. So that is the beginning, and I think if I remember it correctly, it was attended by dignitaries, delegates from over 50 countries in Delhi itself.
Right. This is the What India Thinks Today landmark TV9 event that we're talking about, which happened in the month of February.
Which happened in the month of March, which was the chief guest, or the summit keynote was delivered by none other than the Prime Minister himself. Now, so that was the beginning of it. And now, as you know, we live in a boundaryless world. Anything that happens anywhere, especially in India, it creates a ripple in the world, both in geopolitics and geo-trade. So anything, any large initiative today will have to look at the world as its audience. So we thought that since we started this global summit here in India, it was a humble beginning. So we take it to the next level, and I think it's a next big level where we're doing this News9 Global Summit in Stuttgart, and I'm happy that we have been supported. The co-host is VfB Stuttgart. My friend Ruben would be there. And it is supported by the state of Baden-Württemberg, Mr. Kretschmann himself, who's Minister President. So that's the summit all about. And we would have an array of various kinds of discussion over 2 days. The whole event culminates with beyond discussion, which normally you get to see in corporate summits like this. So we have an award function there where we are honoring a few global icons who's made global impact coming from India. Also, there will be a one of its kind musical rendition,
solo concert. Telling us? Yes.
That's
what is that about? What is the solo concert going to be
Solo
about?
concert is you got to see it to believe it. It's a short concert which will depict the life of one artist who was the first gramophone artist in India, Gauhar Jan. So it's on her life. So it's a part of a large opera. So we are going to showcase only a small concert there, but it is going to be captivating. And the best thing will be kept for the last.
What we see on the screen.
I think Stuttgart and Bochum play their Bundesliga match on 23rd, and some of us would be lucky to watch it from the boxes.
Right. So Ruben is not with us, but heart of hearts, who are you rooting for on the match?
Yeah, of course, Stuttgart. Now we are a diehard, and that is another thing.
Yeah.
We actually have we've taken a mandate on ourselves that we would make Stuttgart. I mean, the city is known in India very much for his excellence in automotive.
Absolutely,
and automobile,
it's the city of Mercedes-Benz.
City of Mercedes-Benz, city of Porsche. So I think city of football legends also it'll be known as in India from now onwards.
So you've you've pretty much answered what I wanted to ask you next, but just to get complete clarity on this, why did you choose Germany as the first destination for the News9 Global Summit to travel outside India?
Well, it is partially by default, partially by design. Like we had a large German delegates in that What India Thinks Today News9 Global Summit, which happened in India in March. And I think both the countries are very precariously positioned. If you say in the global ranking of GDP, while we are 5 and they're the number 4, and the position
that pecking order could
change.
Yeah.
But I think what I've seen through my various interactions with the government officials and corporate people from Germany, I think there's a sense of healthy competition between the two countries. And as I always say, both of us are aligned in a way that we both believe that development and progress will not be a zero-sum game. And I think that is the spirit of India, that we take everybody together to grow. And I think that spirit was reflected in Germany too, through my interactions. And that's the basic reason that we've chosen the first destination of our global summit as Germany. There's one personal take also here, and I keep saying that if I have to reside anywhere else in the world other than India, I think I'll choose Germany as my second home.
All right, Germany as your second home. I'm sure Baba Kalyani agrees with you. He calls Germany his second home. He runs 5 factories there. I know you have global aspirations of taking the TV9, News9 brand outside the shores of India. And Germany being a second home is something your friend Ruben Kasper, who has joined us live now, would also be equally glad to know about. But before we come to Ruben Kasper, Ruben, thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon, your morning. Thank you so much for sparing time. I will come to you, but before I come to you, for all the journalists who have also tuned in live and everybody else who's watching us on the TV9 network, there is a big surprise, and that surprise is in no one else but the keynote speaker at the News9 Global Summit to be held on November 21st through 23rd in Stuttgart, Germany. I won't tell you who it is. Take it for yourself.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have the exchange of the joint declaration of intent for joint cooperation in research and development on advanced materials. On the German side, Ms. Bettina Stark-Wattinser, Minister for Education and Research, and on the Indian side, Dr. Jitendra Singh, Minister of State, Independent Charge for Science and Technology.
Delivering the keynote address here at the News9 Global Summit will be none other than the Prime Minister of India himself, Shri Narendra Modi. Well, Ruben Kasper is joining us on this broadcast. Ruben Kasper, thank you so much for being here. Well, I want to understand from you, cricket is a religion in India, and football is pretty much a religion that everybody lives and breathes in Germany. And I know you have aspirations of bringing football to India. How do you see TV9 network and the partnership you have with the TV9 network to help you fulfill that journey of really making football a preferred sport here in India?
First of all, a wonderful good morning from Stuttgart, Germany, and good having you all in this press conference today. And you talk about religion, yes, don't worry, we will not get in competition with the wonderful cricket in India. There is no chance for us doing so, but as we know, football is the number 5 sport in India already. I think from a consumption it is number 2, and it's globally the sport number 1. And in Germany it is indeed, it is culture, as we are as a football club a cultural good. And we want to transport this wonderful game to India and use it as a cultural bridge between our two countries, which we want to do because the boundaries between India and Germany are so strong. And I think dialogue on a political, economical, and cultural level these days is even more important than it was ever. And this is something we want to bring into this cooperation with TV9, which I want to thank Barun that he brought this wonderful global summit to Stuttgart. And I think together we produced a wonderful setting for people. And also when you want to come, when you will be here in the MRP arena, you will see that we have the most modern and wonderful arena here in Europe.
So we know that in addition to Ruben, the 60,000 fans of football who would be there in the MHP arena, there are going to be two more that day. One, of course, is going to be you, and the other is going to be Mr. Barun Das, who himself is a ardent football fan. So, Mr. Das, are we going to see you and Barun maybe hit a few shots, some penalty shootouts somewhere in the vicinity of the match, if not at the match itself?
You don't want Germany to stop playing football, right? Had it been 30 years back, I would have tried, but not now. Thank you.
Not now. Well, okay. Just for the sake of all our audiences who are joining us now, there is also a special announcement, and that is that the state of Baden-Württemberg is officially supporting the News9 Global Summit. We have with us the Minister President of the state of Baden-Württemberg himself, the Minister President, Mr. Winfried Kretschmann, who has a message for all of us. Take a look at that message.
Long shot, my face. What's happening?
Germany and India are important partners. As Minister President of Baden-Württemberg, I am happy to support the News9 Global Summit in Stuttgart. I hope you can join us.
Well, that was a message from the Minister President of the state of Baden-Württemberg, Mr. Winfried Kretschmann. But we also have a message from the State Secretary for Political Coordination and Europe, Mr. Florian Hassler, who also has a welcome message for the entire Indian delegation, which is going to be traveling to Stuttgart for the News9 Global Summit. Take a look.
Namaste, India. Germany is working towards strengthening bilateral trade with India. The state of Baden-Württemberg is particularly excited to support the News9 Global Summit in Stuttgart. State of Innovation awaits the next big idea for collaboration. Together, we will draw a roadmap for sustainable growth. So please join us and make News9 Global Summit a resounding success.
Well, that was Mr. Florian Hassler, the State Secretary for Political Coordination and Europe at the state of Baden-Württemberg. Ruben Kasper continues to be with us. Mr. Kasper, help us make sense of all the delegates and all the audience and all the speakers who are going to be there at the magnificent MHP Arena, the VfB Stuttgart Stadium. Take us through what they should expect, how big the stadium is, and what really they are in for when they visit your stadium on the 21st.
I think we will expect a wonderful trip for your delegation coming from India over 3 days. A very emotional location. We have one of the biggest stadiums in Europe with a capacity of 60,000. It's currently the most modern stadium in Europe. We modernized it last year with a volume together with the city of 170 million euros. So it's state of the art when it comes to an event location itself. And for sure we will have different kind of panels and wonderful people here from politics and also from business. And as we heard already, address from our Prime Minister and also Secretary of the State. We have as well federal ministers here in Stuttgart and also former European commissioners from the European Union. We have board members from Porsche, from Mercedes. We are economically the strongest region in Europe, and this is something which we want to bring on the table, that we produce here a very strong and positive platform for politics, economy, and for sure culture and sports.
Ruben Kasper, hold your thoughts there. We will, of course, come back to you and bring you back in this discussion. I want to bring back Mr. Barun Das into this conversation. Mr. Das, roadmap to sustainable growth is what we are really talking about in the context of India and Germany. And sustainability is something which becomes all the more important right now in the context of climate change, in the context of the COP29, which, which gets underway starting today in Baku. And sustainability is something that our lead partner, AM Green, is also all about. So in the context of the entire event agenda, not just sustainability, but in the context of the entire agenda that we have planned out, which is that one session that you are really looking forward to, and where you feel that we can really draw out some meaningful conversations and really get India and Germany, the stakeholders, the business partners in India and Germany, to really collaborate and draw up a meaningful agenda beyond the agenda that we are formally offering them?
See, I think the theme of this event or the summit is such that theme should run in the way we exist today. At every step of the way for us, every breath that we take, every business that we run. That is one challenge that the whole world is facing. When we did this What India Thinks Today summit in February, one of my friends had walked up to me and said that you missed out on the sustainability. And I took her advice very seriously, and I said that we would put together one whole summit on that. And if you ask me about which is the most important session that I'm looking forward to, I would not be able to pinpoint any other session other than the Prime Minister's speech.
Right.
Because he always lifts it to a different level. And,
right.
and as you know, the whole world is now converging back in India for an answer to various problems that
right.
it's facing around the world. Barring that, I think each session I would tend to think that would be more important than the other.
Right.
And at the center of it is what AM Green is all about, and Greenco is all about, that if the world has to be a livable place for generations to come,
yeah.
I think we need to take inspiration from AM Green and Greenco, the way they have shaped up and they have taken their business across the world.
Right.
And that session, according to me, is going to be very, very important.
Absolutely. So that session is scheduled on the 22nd, and so is Prime Minister Modi scheduled to speak on the 22nd. But we also have a few other Indian ministers who are physically traveling. Is it time to tell our audience and tell everybody who's tuned in who these Indian ministers are going to be?
Yes, of course. I think we've got Sri Ashwini Vaishnavji, who's Minister for IT, Railway, and Information and Technology, and Minister Information and Broadcasting. I think I'm very glad and pleased that he could take out time from his busy schedule and be there for us to inspire us and deliver his speech. And of course, Jyotiraditya Scindia ji, who's the Minister for Communication and Northeast Donor, a very important ministry held by him too. So both of them are traveling to Germany
right.
in person to sort of inspire us as a whole and deliver their speech and take the message from India
yeah.
to the corporate world and the policy makers of Germany.
Right. Okay, at this point we are also joined live on this broadcast with journalists from across India and Germany who are curious, I'm assuming, about the event and about the global summit, and would perhaps want to understand a little more from us about what this summit is really going to mean, for news making in general, and specifically what they should expect from the summit as well. Some of them would be physically traveling to the event. Some of them would be watching the live stream here on News9 and on the entire TV9 network. And at the same time, many of them would want to perhaps ask questions of their own. A lot of journalists are there joining us live here. I would request them to use the chat window available in the platform that they are joining us with, and drop in a question about what they would really want to ask either Barun Das, MD, CEO, TV9 Network here, or Ruben Kasper, board member for 4FB Stuttgart, joining us from Stuttgart. I'm made to understand that we do have with us Rizal Laskar from Hindustan Times. Rizal, hi, thank you so much for being here with us. Do you have a question for us? If you do drop in that question in the chat window. And of course, a reminder to all the fellow journalists who are joining us to please switch on your cameras on the platform and unmute yourself before you ask us a question. But until they decide on which question they want to ask, I have another question that I want to ask Ruben Kasper, who's joining us from Stuttgart, Germany. Ruben, I want to understand from you that that there is obviously a lot of work that Germany can do for Indian football. There is a lot of work that private clubs like the VfB Stuttgart can do in terms of partnerships that they stitch with organizations operating here, in India. And at the same time, life goes beyond business, beyond sport, into a more people-to-people centric contact. And that is the context of soft power. So, Ruben Kasper, help us understand the power of soft power and the power of people-to-people connect, which forums and platforms like these eventually offer to forge ties even further beyond the stated business objectives.
Thanks, Kartik. At the end, everything is about the people. You know, we are a football club existing because of the people and for the people. And this is very easy to say. And when we talk about football, this joyful game, also cricket, is done by the people and for the people. So we are not just a football club. We are a platform. We are in the capital of the wonderful province of Baden-Württemberg. And we are the biggest business platform and the strongest economical powerhouse here in Europe. And it is beyond football to bring people together for global interests, for politics, for economy, and talk about different things, not just Industry 4.0 or digital transformation, which is needed, but bring this on a very soft platform, which is always sports, it's always culture, bringing the people together in a wonderful surrounding where they can also chat a little bit about other things, but at the end, discuss topics which are relevant for everybody, and you asked Barun earlier what he's looking for, which kind of panels. And when I look at the panels with artificial intelligence or sustainable growth or everything, these are topics we need to discuss in a very open dialogue. And this is what we do as a football club. We bring people together. And as you see from politics, from business and everything, this is our task. And doing this in a cricket stadium or a football stadium, having this surrounding makes it even more positive than it is in general.
All right, Ruben Kasper. Well, we do have some questions coming in now. We've got Rizal Laskar from Hindustan Times. He's the foreign policy editor at the Hindustan Times, joining us with a question. Rizal, if you could please introduce yourself and direct us to who you would like to answer your question. And please go ahead and ask us your question right here.
Hi, thanks for having me. This is basically, I guess, directed more towards Mr. Das. Probably Ruben could chip in if he wants to, because he's from the German side. But, you know, India and Germany do have a green and sustainable development partnership for the last 2 years. How do you think a summit like this will help drive an initiative like that? Germany also has plans to recruit a lot of workers from India. Do you think summits like this would help in this?
Okay, let's take it to Mr. Das first. I think two questions here which you asked Mr. Laskar. One was, of course, about the existing 2-year green energy pact between India and Germany. And the second, of course, is the skills program. And under the skills program, there is a state to state, which is the state of Baden-Württemberg and the state of Maharashtra, where intake of semi-skilled labor is going to increase. And the other, of course, is the number of work visas for white-collar workers from India to Germany increasing from 20,000 to 90,000 work visas every year. I'll let Mr. Das take it from there.
Well, thank you for asking the question. I think the summit like this would be one of the most important platforms which can support the initiatives which are taking place between the two governments. You know, a news network or a news channel, you from a one of the leading newspaper of the country, national newspaper of the country, you would know that we play the role of a social catalyst. So we would continue to play the role, and platform like this sort of instigates the most important part of a bilateral relationship, which is dialogue. So we have identified topics which are very critical, as Ruben said, for business and society at large. So those are the topics which will be discussed. And since decision makers, policy makers from both the countries would converge under one roof, I'm sure that platforms like this will instigate such bilateral relation and discussions going forward. And also, it is important to note that this is not the first and the last one. This is just the initiation, and as a network, we would like to keep the momentum going while more such summits in Germany as well as summits in other parts of the world. The objective remaining the same, that facilitate a dialogue, a platform which is meaningful and participated by people who matter from both the countries. And the second one about this labor transition, well, this is part of the larger pie, definitely. It is one of the, I would tend to think that it is one of the easiest way to sort of contribute. The remittance is one of the large contributors to the FDI flowing in India. So the more the merrier for us, and the state that where we are holding this summit, which is state of Baden-Württemberg, as I think in last couple of months have signed treaty with Maharashtra government, where they're recruiting 400,000 skilled manpower from Maharashtra to state of Baden-Württemberg. So like any other initiatives which are for mutual benefit, this also will get instigated and supported by summits like this.
Well, let me also take this quickly to Ruben Kasper, who will give us perhaps a German perspective to the same question. I think, Ruben, what may be more relevant here for you to comment upon would be the whole skills exchange program that India and Germany are closely working together on. And in fact, we have a session dedicated on that as well. So quickly, Ruben, your take on what the skills program is going to meet for the supply side story in Germany. Right. So while we wait for Ruben to come and join us to answer this question, I will request another journalist, Pradyuman Maheshwari, MXM India, who also wants to ask a question. So Pradyuman, if you could keep your your camera on and unmute yourself until Ruben asks this question, and then we would take it on to you. So Ruben Kasper, if you are able to hear me now, just help us understand from the German perspective what this exchange of skills program really means to cater to the supply side deficiency that Germany faces right now because of shortage of labor available to deliver the jobs which the people of Germany expect from them.
Yes, Kartik, I hope you hear me.
I can, thanks.
Because I already started to answer it. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, please, Ruben.
Perfectly. Go ahead. Thanks. I think the best answer you will hear when you come to our summit, because we have the specialists over there. But at the end, we are here in Baden-Württemberg governed as the only province by the Green Party. Which you see, we are the economically strongest region and we are governed by the Green Party. And this combination is for the world very relevant. And this is also was one of the discussion points why we brought the summit to Stuttgart to discuss this on the perfect level. On the one side, and when it comes to white labor workers, I think this is a win-win situation. Here in Germany, our social structure needs that we bring experts from abroad to Germany, especially to Baden-Württemberg. And these are topics which are really bringing pressure on our economy. And I'm sure that our decision makers who will join, the board members from Porsche, the board members from Mercedes, from Bosch, from all the big companies, globally, they are welcoming the specialists from India. And I think this collaboration is currently very, very relevant for us, and also bringing this in a positive discussion and making a win-win situation out of this is very relevant.
Right, win-win. That is something I hear quite often from Mr. Barun Das as well. I'm sure he'll agree to us trying to create a win-win situation. And of course, he had also mentioned that this is eventually not going to be a zero-sum game. But we do have another journalist joining us live on this broadcast. This is Pradyuman Maheshwari, founder and editor of MXM India, who I believe has a question for Mr. Barun Das. So Pradyuman Maheshwari, if you can switch on your camera and unmute yourself and ask us a question, please.
Yeah. Hi, this is a question for Mr. Barun Das. Hi, Barun. Great idea to have this, take the summit beyond India, and take it to Germany, which is perhaps not, normally considered to be the #1 country. You might perhaps look at the US, etc. Now, tell me, Germany has strong linkages with India. Has always had with heavy engineering and automobile industries. Now, the flavor of the last few years in India has been startups. And do you see the presence of startups as well, in the summit, and so that they can take inspiration from players in Germany, which would actually inspire in a dramatically different way because of the emphasis to excellence that exists in that Germany stands for.
Thank you, Pradyuman. Good to see you. While we do not have any specific session on startup, but we do have certain breakaway sessions. This summit will have, as we are having 1.5 to 2.5 day summit, including watching a football match, we have several breakaway sessions. So startup form an important ingredients of those breakaway sessions. So the presence of startup, and Germany also has many schemes. Many of German states have offered conducive soaps for startups from India as well. So they would be covered in breakaway sessions.
Thank you.
Well, okay, we have another question coming in, and this one I believe is coming from Abhishek, who's joining us from the Press Trust of India. Abhishek, if I can request you to please direct your question to either Mr. Barun Das or Mr. Ruben Kasper. Remember, please, to switch on your camera and unmute yourself before you ask the question. Abhishek, if you can hear me, please go ahead. Abhishek Sunakar, if you can please switch on your camera before you ask the question, as you would appreciate this is a televised show. We would love to see your face as well and not just hear your voice, Abhishek. All right, I think that's going to take Abhishek some time. Abhishek, we will come back to you. Please go to a location where you're able to switch on your camera and then speak to us. But, just to take this conversation forward until Abhishek Sonakar joins us, Mr. Das, I also want to understand from you, and of course, we had a question on startups, and you're somebody who has created businesses, and you're somebody who has disrupted, businesses as they have been known. Startups is something which in the Indian context is not something that you think very highly of when it comes to their path to profitability. And when you talk about a city like Stuttgart, when you talk about an economy like Germany, I think they have built businesses grounds up with very robust business models, with a great focus on quality, with a great focus on engineering. And I think those companies have continued to live and thrive, not just live the test of time, but actually continue to thrive. In the Indian context, what are the lessons that you think startups and potential disruptors should really learn from big German brands like Mercedes-Benz, like Porsche? I know you drive a Mercedes-Benz, I know Ruben drives a Mercedes-Benz, and you drive these German cars in India. What are the lessons that you think startups can really learn from established German companies?
Well, I would slightly disagree with your preamble. I'm a firm believer in the concept of startup too. What I expressed my disagreement with at times is that, only valuation doesn't excite me. I often see, finally you got to run the business.
Right.
And if I keep looking 5 years, 10 years down the line to see how the business shapes up, I particularly am not very comfortable. While I would have a vision looking at what's going to happen in 5 or 10 years, I would always like to have a path to profitability, a distinct path to profitability that is actually chased by every startup. So that is my personal view. But as far as the startup ecosystem is concerned, I think India has a lot to be proud of. I think there are 80, 90 odd plus unicorns which are coming from India. So we have a great future for the startup ecosystem in India. And what is to be learned from these large companies? I think excellence and a global outlook. If you ask me, these are the two things. I would not like to venture into anything where I would compromise with excellence in any step of the way. At the same time, I'm not going to conceive anything which is only going to be limited within the boundaries of our country. So these are the two things. If you ask me if I were running a startup, I would have learned from this large German brands which have taken the world on their strides.
All right. Well, we do have another journalist. We have Monish Modi, the content head at Media Avatar, now joining us live. Monish, please let us know who you want to direct your question to and go ahead and ask your question.
My question would be directed to Barun as well as the friends in Germany here.
Yeah.
Just wanted to understand, like India today, Indian government today talks a lot about bettering our infrastructure and the roadways and all of that. And Germany, of course, as we know, it's known for its automobile industry. It's known for Autobahn, the network of highways and all. So this relationship, this summit, will it also, be like, will it also come out, or will it also have some solutions on that front? Will the Autobahn also come to India?
All right. Would you like to take that on, Mr.
I
Das?
just missed the question. I'll try and guess what he asked and answer. Yeah, I think the precariously these two countries are connected. It's almost like we are fitting into each other like a jigsaw puzzle. Is that I think India has a huge market and a huge growing appetite for everything.
Right.
Consumption, building infrastructure, the rapid pace that we are going through. Which makes India a coveted destination for any businesses across the world.
Right.
And Germany is known for their technology, their know-how,
Right.
their superiority in technology, in the domain of technology. So therefore, that's the fitment that I see. And obviously, they are more developed than us, but as we are catching up, we have a lot to leverage from each other, and we are offering the whole world a huge consuming market.
Right. So, I just have a supplementary question to that before we go to Shanta Saikia, who's also joining us. She's the editor of Ad Gully. But Mr. Das, I have one more question, which is closely linked to the one that was just asked of you. And this is about, us really being very proud of the 1.4 billion strong consumption market that we have. And at the same time, because of that mass of population, the labor arbitrage that we are able to, or the cost arbitrage on account of labor that we are able to provide for, sometimes do you think there is reason and there is merit to explore that just cost arbitrage is not enough? We should not be seen as, let's say, a competitor to China just on the basis of cost arbitrage and because we can produce as cheap or cheaper or somewhere thereabouts. Do you think at some point we've got to focus on quality, which is what Germany has been able to build its reputation on?
Goes without saying. The cost arbitrage won't last long, and somebody would overtake it sooner than later. So quality is something that should be in the focus, as I said, even in case of startups. Excellence, which is in terms of quality.
Right.
So we need to improvise, we need to innovate, not only to derive the cost arbitrage, not only to derive the cost advantage, but we need to exceed the world's expectation in terms of the quality that we provide to.
Right. So not just quantity, it's quality that we've got to focus on. We've got Shanta Saikia, editor of Ad Gully, joining us. Shanta, if you have a question for Mr. Ruben Kasper, I believe he's here with us for just another minute or two. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Well, I think I'm just in time for that, I guess. Hi, good afternoon. So I have actually two questions here. They are aimed at both Mr. Kasper as well as Mr. Das, but I guess Mr. Kasper can answer it first.
Yeah.
First is concerning the sports ecosystem in India. So will we see a greater investment by Germany in sports in India as well as sports broadcasting? That is my first question. I'll come to the second one a bit later.
Ruben, would you like to answer that question? I think the question is really about sports infrastructure. And while we've seen stadiums come up, while we've seen training academies mushroom in India, but I would still sort of hate to admit, but I have to, that it's nothing as what we see in a market like Germany. So in terms of sporting infrastructure, sporting talent identification, and really fostering this whole ecosystem of not just identifying, but this entire life cycle of a sports person, how do you see India can take some inspiration from the German way of identifying and nurturing talent?
First of all, thanks, Shanta, for your question. And this is exactly what we want to bring on the table. And also, we can combine this with the question of Monish about the Autobahn. I'm not sure if we can bring, after this summit, the Autobahn to India. But at the end, the summit is there for listening to each other and learning from each other. I think both countries, people have excellency in their minds and in their ecosystems. And this is something what the summit should bring to the people. And when it comes to your question, Shanta, about the sport ecosystem, there is an ecosystem in India which is great. Cricket, amazing stadiums. But as we also discussed, when it comes to stadiums like we have here in Europe, we had the Football World Cup here. We had in our stadium this summer, we had the European Championship there. Only the most modern and greatest stadiums can participate in events, in global highlights like this. And this
Right, Ruben, I know you're running short of time. I wouldn't want to hold you back. It is time for you to leave this very interesting discussion that we've been having. But of course, there's a lot more of Ruben that all of you, our viewers, could catch, because Ruben would be speaking not once, but at least 2, maybe 3 times at the News9 Global Summit in Stuttgart, Germany. And before we go, there is one more question, one final question that we would be able to accommodate. And this is Vishesh Sharma, news correspondent, Best Media Info. Is Vishesh with us? I think my producer is saying that perhaps Vishesh is not with us anymore.
Why not?
Okay. Well, I think Vishesh is having some connectivity issues. But ladies and gentlemen, with that, we've completely run out of time on this exclusive curtain raiser on the News9 Global Summit, which would be coming live to you. If you're there in person, well, of course, you're there with us. But for all those who would be tuning in to watch the News9 Global Summit, it is just 10 days to go, and you will watch all the action on News9 Live, on News9 Plus. Read about it on our website, news9live.com, and of course, catch us everywhere on India's largest news network, the TV9 network. I would like to thank Mr. Barun Das, MD and CEO TV9 network, to have spent this long time with us and share his views, his insights, as well as special thanks to Ruben Kasper and all the journalists who did tune in to ask their questions. With that, it's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned to News9 Live.